This is the video for the Unit 8 Rational Functions Review. This is another version of the test that you're going to have. The left side of your paper is going to be multiple choice. The right side, you have to work out the problem and show your work to receive full credit. So I'm going to go back and forth between whether I do the multiple choice or not, but when I do the multiple choice, I will also be working that out. So number 1 and 2, we're not multiplying, dividing, adding, or subtracting. We are just going to simplify our fraction. So I look at this and I think, well, I can't combine anything. I don't have a greatest common factor. That's the first thing you're going to be looking at is, do I have a GCF? And there's not anything that will go into all three of the terms in either my numerator or my denominator. So I'll look to see if I can factor it. So if you factor a trinomial and our a is 1, you're going to have two sets of parentheses. And go ahead and set it up for numerator and denominator. I'm going to put a p in the first because p times p is p squared. I look at my last term. It is 16. So I need to find factors of 16. When I add them together, I get 10 because both of these signs are positive. So both of these signs are going to be positive. So factors of 16 that when I add them together are 10. So I have 1 and 16, 2 and 8. 2 plus 8 equals 10. And so I'm going to put 2 and 8 here. So the same thing here. This sign is positive, so that means both of these signs are going to be the same. This is positive, so they're both going to be positive. Factors of 14, that when I add them together, I get 9. So 1 and 14 is 15. 2 and 7, that does give me 9 when I add those together. And then I look to see what can I cancel from numerator to denominator. And I have a p plus 2 on the top and on the bottom. And so what I'm left with is p plus 8 over p plus 7, which is answer choice C. At the end of this video, I will post the answers to all of these so you can check your work, and your teacher may, like in my class, I will have a copy of the answers at the front of the room that you can check also. So the next set of problems for multiplication, I am going to work problem number 4. I don't have the multiple choice, and I'm going to work it out. So I'm going to multiply, so I don't have to change. I don't have to do the keep, change, flip. So I look to see what can I factor. Is there anything with the greatest common factor? A plus 4 is as simple as I can get it, but 4a plus 4, I can factor a 4 out of both terms. 4 times a is 4a, and 4 times a positive 1 is a positive 4. So I could cross that off. Let's see, I'm multiplying, so I can cancel out going across. So I can cancel those out there. Now I have a trinomial, so I need to set it up with two sets of parentheses, with a at the beginning of both. I need factors of 8. This is positive and that's positive, so both of these are positive. So factors of 8 that when I add together give me 9. 1 and 8, that gives me 9. So now that I have that factored, can I cross off anything from top to bottom? And I can cross off the a plus 1. And so my answer, I'm left in the top with a plus 8, and on the bottom with a 4. And that is your answer. So 5 and 6, I am dividing. So for sake of space, I'm going to go ahead and do number 6 because I have more space to work with. So remember, if you are dividing, you are going to do the keep, change, flip. But let's go ahead and see if we can factor as much as we can. But we're not going to really cross out till we flip it. So my first numerator, 5 goes into 35, so I can pull a 5 out. And then if you have x's in both terms, pull out the x with the smallest exponent, and that will be 2. So I'm going to pull out 5x squared. So let's see what I need to multiply 5x squared by to get to my original expression here. So I'm going to multiply this by an x. 5x squared times x gives me 5x cubed, because remember you add your exponents when you multiply. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then 5 goes into negative 35, negative 7 times. And then I don't need an x because I already have x squared. So negative 7 times 5x squared does give me negative 35x squared. So I factored that. I found the greatest common factor. This is a trinomial, so I needed to set it up in two sets of parentheses. This is a minus, so I'm going to have opposite signs, a plus and a minus. I need factors of 18 that when I subtract them give me 3. So factors of 18, I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. This will do it right here, 3 and 6. Because this is negative, my bigger number needs to go with the minus, and the smaller number goes with the plus, because negative 6 and a positive 3 will give me a negative 3. I can also factor this trinomial. Let's set up our two sets of parentheses, x and x. These are both positive, so these will both be positive. Factors of 30 that give me 13. Well, you might think right away, well, 3 times 10, if I add them, I get 13. Sorry, y'all couldn't see what I was doing over here. But there you can see what I did before. So 3 and 10. But before I cross anything else, let's go ahead and do our keep, change, flip. So I'm going to keep my first fraction. So let's write out our factored version over x plus 3 times x minus 6. I'm going to change my division sign to a multiplication sign, and then I'm going to flip my fraction. So I'm going to put my denominator on top and my numerator on the bottom. And now let's see what we can cancel. Well, I have a 5x squared here and 5x squared here. I don't have an x minus 7 on the bottom, but I have an x plus 3. So looks like I'm stuck with, we're going to keep the x minus 7 here at the top times the x plus 10. And then in the denominator, I have x minus 6. And that would be your answer there. So let's turn the page and work 2 more problems. Adding. This one's adding where I have the same denominator. This one I'm subtracting and I have the same denominator. Let's do the subtracting because that's where most people kind of mess up a little bit. So what I've told my students is go ahead and change this minus sign to a plus sign, and then change the sign on each thing after following it. In fact, when I worked it earlier, I only changed the sign on my first term and not on my second term. That's where you're going to mess up if you don't go ahead and change that. So since my denominators are the same, 6n minus 36, I could factor out a 6, but let's look and see if we needed to do that. So now we're going to combine like terms. I have a 4n minus n, so 4 minus 1 is 3n, and then a 3 minus 5 will give me a negative 2. I'm not going to be able to cancel anything if I factored this out, so I'm just going to leave the answer like this, and that's the answer that you also get on the answer sheet. So now we have 2 problems, 9 and 10, where the denominators are not the same. Well, I guess let's just go ahead and work number 10. I have m plus 3, m minus 6. I cannot factor anything. They're factored as much as they can be. So our least common multiple is going to be where we multiply our 2 denominators against each other, by each other. So let's write our first fraction, 4 over m plus 3. I'm going to go and put that in parentheses. I need to multiply this by what is missing. What do I not have out of this? This is what I want my denominator to be. I have the m plus 3, but I do not have the m minus 6. So what I multiply on the denominator, I'm also going to multiply in the numerator because I am just multiplying by 1. I'm not changing the value. So let's go ahead and write our second fraction, 5 over m minus 6. What am I missing here? I'm missing the m plus 3. So let's write this out. I'm going to put parentheses around this. So let's multiply our 2 fractions. I'm going to distribute 4 times m is 4m, and 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. I'm going to put that over m plus 3 times m minus 6. And then to that, I'm going to add this fraction after I multiply. 5 times m is 5m, and 5 times 3 is a positive 15. Write my denominator. Now if you notice, my denominators are in different order, and that is okay because it's multiplication, and so they end up being the same. So now I can combine like terms. I have a 4m and a positive 5m. So when I add those together, I get 9m. And then negative 24 and a positive 15. 24 is bigger, so I keep that sign. And 24 minus 15 gives me 9 over m plus 3 times m minus 6. I could factor a 9 out of this, but that's just going to give me 9 times m minus 1, and I won't be able to cancel anything out, so I'm just going to keep my answer like that. So I told you I would let you see the answers to all the problems, and so if you need to pause it so that you can see it, these are the answers to the review for all 10 problems. Don't just copy them. Oops, you can't see 1, 5, and 9. Don't just copy them. Use this as a tool so that you can do your very best on your test. Learn how to do these problems. You have this tool at your disposal. Use them, and good luck.